Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. I'm your host, Joe Emilio, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about Elon Musk maybe taking over Twitter. How much does an Uber driver make? And my guest tonight, later at 8 p.m., ladies and gentlemen, is going to be Bronwyn Williams. She is a futurist, and we're going to talk exactly what is that. And we're also going to talk about modern monetary theory. What is that? And would it work in South Africa? All of that and a lot more, ladies and gentlemen, coming up. Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Joe Emilio Show. I'm your host, Joe Emilio. I am Joe Emilio. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, comment and I will see it and I will start a conversation. Let's just put it that way. And I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to have a bit of fun with you guys in this hour you're going to spend with me. And then later on is going to be my guest joining us. And before I forget... All right, so I'm still recovering, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a lot better. I'm a lot better. Like a lot better. I feel more like my normal self. I still got a bit of a runny nose and a bit of a cough. But every day it's getting better. I took the weekend to completely relax, chill, and it was good. It was good. And thank you guys so much. I was blown away by the response of my video with Rob Hutchinson, which I'll get into in just a moment. But thank you guys so much, all of you that are watching it, that are commenting, that are sharing it. Thank you so much. So while we get into things and while people start joining in on the stream, by the way, if you're just joining in, thank you so much. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to leave a like and come subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's almost at 4,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. 4,000 subscribers. So yeah, if you're seeing me here for the first time, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, come over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, please. Let's get Joe over 4,000 subscribers. It'll be great. A great feat, I think. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't heard yet, the President will be addressing us tonight. That is, check the date. It says 4th of April, 2022. This was published at 6:14 p.m., so almost an hour ago. The President will be addressing us tonight, and I repeat, I will not be streaming it, ladies and gentlemen, because I already have a guest who's a lot, more interesting than the President. And I can't move. This chick is really difficult to get a hold of. And we made things happen for tonight. I'm not gonna blow her off for the President, is what I'm trying to say. Even though I really would like to know what the President has to say about tonight, or has to say tonight, because apparently he's going to talk about the latest developments in South Africa, or South Africa's response to the C-19 pandemic. And as I just mentioned a few moments ago, I did a video with Rob Hutchinson from DRSA calling people to basically comment on the Amendment Act. And these are the two videos that were done, the last one being this one. It's not over. So basically what happened was, in this one, it was, the first time that they wanted people to comment on the amendments to the Health Act. So we made a video. We told people, hey, go comment on DRSA, make your voice heard. It's really important. And then NDZ threw a curveball. I still don't, I mean, Rob says we don't have anything to worry about, right? But the President addressing us tonight makes me a bit worried. Okay, because there is still a deadline for the 15th of April, right? But now there's a second deadline for the 5th of April. And it's just caused a lot of confusion. Rob said, look, 15th of April, that's the big one. Whatever NDZ is trying to do now, it doesn't matter. So it's going to be interesting to know what Cyril says tonight. I'll catch up after my guest, and I'll see what happens, and maybe I'll do another follow-up video with Rob to get some clarity on what is going on, what might happen after what the president said, because we don't know what the president's going to say tonight. Like, let's be honest. He could say anything. He could say, like, okay, we've had such a big response from people saying that they don't want these amendments, that maybe, like, we go back to normal. I mean, that's wishful thinking. I know. And it's very naive and it's very optimistic. I know. Chances are everything's just going to be implemented that they want to implement. But we'll see. I don't know. Dylan saying, evening, Joe. Hello, Dylan. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to see you. Remember, guys, comment, and I can see them, and I can bring them up like this. But yeah, I'm not going to be streaming the president's speech tonight. Like I said, I have a very lovely guest joining me tonight, and I didn't want to blow her off. And yeah, I mean, I'll catch up. I'll catch up with what the president said. I don't know if it's going to be of anything importance. I know that tomorrow was the deadline for whatever it is they wanted to implement. I don't know anymore. Like, it's so confusing. All right. All I know is don't stop commenting. That's what I know.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a very big mistake. Sorry. That was the ad. I pressed the wrong button. Anyway, just go to these videos, watch them. These two here, this one that says this is not over and end it now. Watch them, comment, have your say, because regardless of what happens tonight, the 15th of April, that's when shit's going down. That's the important date. So comment. The more people that comment, the better. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I saw this comment on the recent video. If you guys will look at Ask Alice, this comment I felt was quite an interesting one. She says, or he says, use the platform like DRSA to comment on this if you can. I went to the one published by government's own call to participation, and the link was down. The email addresses were out. They don't deliver. So DRSA at least make sure the submissions get in. And that's exactly the point. So even if you go to the government website where they have their own, commenting thing, where you can go there, you can comment, right? It doesn't work. The links don't work. The emails don't send out. This is not the first time I've heard this. I have heard it from other people, but this is the first time someone's commented and let me know that. So thank you, Ask Alice, for commenting that. And again, use DRSA. It's going to be very interesting to know what happens tonight. And I think it doesn't mean that the fight is over, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't mean that at all. I know DRSA, AfriForum, even like all these activists right now that have been advocating, that have been advocating to end the state of disaster, are not just going to sit by and watch the ANC implement these regulations without a fight. So no matter what happens tonight, the game might change, but the game is still on. ANC can change the rules all they like. The fight will still continue. Trust me on that. And I will have Sakhaliha on this channel at some point, and I will have Rob back to do a follow-up. And depending on what happens tonight, ask him, okay, what's the next step? What can we do? Because the fight's not going to end. This is the ANC just trying to screw with us. And we all need to stand up, and we all need to make our voices heard. So don't forget that. It's going to be very interesting. Like I said, I'm not streaming the president tonight. And yeah, that's what I'm going to say on that. Zach is here, ladies and gentlemen. Zach, it's good to see you again, buddy. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Yeah, keep those comments coming in, guys. I do eventually, or I do try to get to all of them. Like, a super chat's also nice. You don't have to, but Cyril Rambosaurus calls it a Sasa chat. If you want to give a Sasa chat, that's cool. That's just super chat, but you don't have to. And he also says, don't forget to like. Just say, like that's him saying that, and don't forget to subscribe as well. Like he's just reminding you. Like saying, good to be here. Awesome. All right, so moving on to other news. While Cyril will address the nation at 8 p.m., I will not be streaming that. I'm going to have a lovely guest here on the show, Bronwyn Williams, who is a futurist. We're going to talk what that is, and we're also going to talk about modern monetary theory, and we're going to talk about some other stuff as well. She is a lovely, lovely person, and I cannot wait to have her on the show. And she's, look, much more interesting to chat to her than to watch Cyril just talk a lot of garbage. Anyway, moving on to, I saw this article and I thought it might be interesting to share with you guys. Like, this is just like a little FYI kind of thing. Have you ever wondered how much Uber drivers make? Just out of curiosity, and this is obviously within the context of South Africa, not anywhere else in the world. Like how much Uber drivers make in South Africa. Found an article apparently that shares this information. There's a lot of yada 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 at the beginning, but here is, because there's like they want to explain, like put like kind of disclaimers. You know, there's a lot of factors that contribute to the income of an Uber driver or whatever, you know, like, you know, it depends on how quickly they deliver, it depends on this, it depends on that. So obviously, okay, there's certain things that contribute to the income, but there's an average, okay? So see, like they try and say here, like this, you know, the Uber Eats drivers can make each individual driver delivery time location will influence how much an Uber Eats driver earns. Okay, so an Uber Eats, on average, an Uber Eats driver tend to earn 14 to 15 rand per delivery. Okay, per delivery, with boosted earnings during peak times reaching to the amounts of 20 rand per delivery. Okay. Taking into account the demand for deliveries and how many deliveries can be done in a day, Uber Eats drivers can make anywhere from 1,800 rand to 2,500 rand weekly on average. So that's about, maybe say 2, 4, 6, like 8 to 20,000 rand a month, somewhere there, depending on how hard you work. Which, you know, it's not bad. It's not, but I mean, to earn 20K as an Uber Eats, like you're probably working every day, and geez, like probably like you're maxing out, you know what I mean? Are these good numbers? I don't know. I really don't know. I think for some it is, but I don't think in South African standards you can even raise a family. Like, you would still need a 2-income household, if that makes sense. So like both you and the person you're living with need to bring in an income, because it's not enough, in my opinion anyway. It's really it's not that much, which is sad, but at the same time, it's gonna piss off some people. And they try and say there's factors, there's requirements. I think this is a good job if you're like young, you know, like a teenager with some extra pocket money or whatever. I don't think this is a good job if you're like over the age of like 30. Like, that's just my opinion. And I know what some people are going to say, like, oh, some people don't have a choice, it's a job. And absolutely, man. If this is the only job you can do, and you're good at it, then by all means, if it makes you happy, then by all means, man. I'm just saying that it's sad. The rates are very sad. Like 14 Rand per delivery, guys. Like some of these, okay, first of all, like here's my thinking, right? So, or here's why it's not cool in a way. Sorry, I saw this comment now. Germs in the house, ladies and gentlemen. It says, put on a mask, I'm going to spread those germs. I know, man. I got it from you. That's the thing. I know I got it from you because you're a germ. All our cab drivers are over 30. That's a cab driver, right? This is like a delivery person. Okay, Uber Eats also. Uber drivers also deliver. Also kind of a cab driver. Okay, I see what you're saying. But here's my thing, right? With Uber Eats, at least, okay, Uber Eats drivers, okay. I've used that app quite a bit, right? Obviously, I mean, duh. So here's the thing: some of the bills can be upwards of 300 Rand, okay, 200, 300 Rand, okay. If they're only getting 15 Rand, or let's say the best outcome was 20 Rand, okay, for that delivery, that is an injustice of note. Like, and I don't know if that like is including tip, not including tip, or if it's just what Uber gives them. Because if it's 20 Rand per delivery, that's what they get from Uber, and then excluding the tip, then maybe it's not that bad, you know? I don't know. Is this like the base income thing? I don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was, I mean, like on the one hand, people are going to be like, yeah, that's like really little. But on the other hand, it's like, you're a delivery guy. Like, you're not a rocket scientist. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't know. That's just, do you know how much cab drivers make in the States? And like the other thing is like Uber, man, like whether it's Uber Eats or Uber drivers, like with the petrol going up, oh my God, things are going to get really expensive, guys. Like things, like I filled up my tank today and I have a Hyundai i10 Grand 2018 model. 2019? 2018. I think it was 2019 or 2018. One of those, okay? It's like a 1.0 engine, and it's like a 35-liter tank, okay? I love that car, okay? I know some of you are going to be like, oh, is that even... No, I love that car. The car's like my baby, okay? Love that car. Now, I used to fill it up for like $400. 400 Rand. When it was on empty, when it was like, when the petrol tank lights up, okay? Now it's at 750 Rand. What? 750. I'm broke, guys. Like, it's not even like it's the 4th of the month and I'm broke. I didn't budget for that. I was like, oh, snap. Okay. That hit hard. Yeah, so Germ, I'm not going to be able to go to the coffee shop this month. Yeah, I don't even know if I can go to gym. Like this is how bad it is, guys. 750 Rand to fill up the tank. Oh my God, that's like double. I was like, oh my word. Anyway. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. It depends on which city you're in for the cost of a taxi. Okay, your city, Florida, where you stay. All right. I just thought that was some interesting information and some other stuff here, which is not. I don't know if you guys want to know, but yeah. Then I thought this was also cool. Well, I guess it depends on what you think of this man, but Elon Musk, guys. Okay, so I need to explain this. Okay, so here's something interesting about. Oh wait, here we go. $30 an hour, 2.5 booking fee. Okay. In New York City. Okay. I don't know. Never needed a cab in Florida. Yeah, I guess that's true. Hold on, Zach. I'm gonna get there. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments quickly. All right, so I never needed a cab in Florida. So I need to explain this about Elon Musk, though. Okay, so Elon Musk put out a tweet. Okay, I think it was last week sometime. I can't remember. You know when Elon Musk tweets something, right? So he puts out a tweet. There we go. He said in early 25th, free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. And he questioned if Twitter was rigorously adheres to this principle. All right. Then he put out a tweet, right? And then he said, like, is a new platform needed? And then a lot of people started tweeting. Even I did. I quote tweeted him. I said, buy Twitter, right? There are other people saying, oh, make your own Twitter platform, make your own platform like Twitter or whatever, Like the one guy tweeted him, either make your own or buy Twitter, all right? This is one of the richest guys in the world, right? One of them. He's not the richest, but he's one of the, he's in the top 1%, right? So, I mean, this guy could literally just go okay, how much, ask someone, how much is Twitter? And then they'll be like, oh, it's X amount. And he'll be like, okay, well, I'll buy some of it, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what he did. Elon Musk becomes Twitter's biggest shareholder after buying 9.2% stake on March 14th. Yeah. And it sent the shares soaring, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, apparently he is the world's richest man. World's richest man owns quadruple the shares of its founder, Jack Dorsey. His passive stake is valued up to $2.9 billion based on Friday's stock close. It has prompted Twitter's share price to soar to 26% pre-marketing trading. So this guy, okay, this is the power that this guy has, okay? He disses the platform. He literally disses the platform on the platform that he is dissing. And then gets such a reaction from doing it that someone says buy it, and he's like, you know what? I wonder how much I could buy. And he just buys it. This all happened within the span of 2-3 weeks, guys. This isn't crazy. And he becomes the biggest shareholder. He bought nearly 73.5 million shares. He has more shares than its co-founder. So this is also interesting, meaning his shares are now worth around $3.6 billion, earning him an interest of $1.2 billion in 3 weeks. I mean, what a mic drop, right? What a mic drop. That's a mic drop right there. That mic that he's holding right there, he needs to drop it. That's what I'm saying. It's wow. And there you go. He just buys the damn thing, and then the shares go up. He makes money. But now the question is, see, there it is, right? Do we need a new platform? He got 2 million votes on this thing. Okay. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle of free speech or whatever? 2 million people voted in this thing. I'm not saying 2 million people voted no. I'm saying 2 million people voted in, like, between the yes and the no. And of that 2 million, 70% said no. Now that is a survey you can trust. 2 million people. I think Twitter only has 3 million users. I'm kidding. It has more than that, obviously. But yeah. And then he says the consequences of this poll will be important. Please vote carefully. Well, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else that's mentioned here of importance. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. And this is talking about Musk and his company. He remains a Square Inc. Yeah, well, that's it. Nothing else of importance, really. Just that, I mean, it doesn't even mention if Elon is going to do anything now. But yeah, maybe we're still going to see what is going to happen now that Elon Musk is the largest shareholder of Twitter. Clearly, Elon Musk, the value of freedom of speech is very important to him. So we'll see. Maybe this will influence Twitter in a way. Maybe this will change their policies. I don't know. He's obviously going to be in board meetings at some point. So yeah, we'll see. But this was a huge, to Twitter, imagine being so rich that you could just do that, right? Just put out a tweet I don't like this platform, guys. What should we do about it? Buy it. Okay. Look at the stock exchange. Twitter. I'm just going to buy 72 million shares of that. Imagine. That's... Elon doesn't do silent partners. He does hostile takeovers. Yeah, well, we'll definitely see something happening. I don't think he's going to break that board. Yeah, I mean, imagine, man. I'm still in shock. I mean, that's gangsta. Yeah, exactly. That is next level gangster. I'm just gonna buy you out. Wow. It's kind of a Disney move too, if I'm honest, because Disney's doing that, right? They're buying Marvel, they're buying Lucasfilm, Fox. Yeah. It's kind of a Disney move, taking a page out of Disney. If I can't beat you, I'm gonna buy you, right? Changing that old saying, can't beat him, join him. If you can't beat him, buy him, right? Money talks, people. Money talks. So yeah, that happened. In freaking sane. Anyway, that's pretty much all the headlines I had for today. We got 30 minutes until my guest joins me, who's going to be Bronwyn Williams, a futurist, and we're going to talk about what is a futurist. I know that Cyril is talking at 8 p.m., ladies and gentlemen, and I am not going to stream him. Mainly because I can't stomach it, to be honest. And also, Bronwyn's far more interesting than Cyril. So, we're going to have a nice different chart. And I'll probably do a follow-up video on the speech anyway, tomorrow. for those of you who also didn't watch it, maybe look out for that in the next 2 days. I'll do like a follow-up, like, not review, but like, I'll try and tell you in 60 seconds what happened, basically. That's what I'm going to try and do. So it'll be a short or something. So yeah. Ron DeSantis. Yeah. Which, I mean, that's a touchy subject. Pun intended. So, and unless you know what I'm talking about, let's not get into it. So, but yeah, that's some messed up stuff though. Like Disney has disappointed me so much. Like, here's the thing though, right? So like, I don't like what Disney is doing now, all right? And I know that like I'm very careful with what I'm going to say, because I know how some people are gonna label me, and I'm not, okay? But here's the thing. Just an observation, okay? Disney was founded on family values, and it seems like they're doing everything now in like the past, I don't know, 5-10 years, give or take. They're doing everything that is against what they were founded on, especially in the past 2 years or a year. And I just wanted to point that out. I just want to point that out and say, shame on you, Disney. Like, go woke, go broke. That's all I can say, really. So yeah. And yeah, a lot of people don't know what that bill really says. I'd sign it, like, don't get me wrong. And that's the other thing, like, a lot of Democrats have signed it as well. Like, a lot of Democrats in Florida are for that bill. But I'm seeing a lot of the mainstream media and a lot of these liberal people, like far left radical liberals, like, just, they don't know what they're saying. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, that whole situation, I don't know, man. I don't know how bad it is really in the States, but from this side of the pond, it looks like America is falling apart, to be honest. And it worries me. Being an American, obviously, I do love my country, as anyone would love their country where they're from, you know. I know there's a lot of expats, South African expats, that moved across the world, and they still love South Africa. It's just the government that they don't like. And it's the same with me. You know, I love America. It's just I don't like what's happening over there right now. Yeah, it looks, and Jeremy, right, man, you got a point there. It's not just America, it's the West. Yeah, absolutely. It's some scary stuff, man. I don't know what is going on. When did this even happen? You know? Like, when, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's some scary stuff. And look, I do think yeah. I don't even know what to say on that anymore. It's just, so yeah. I think, I really hope that logic prevails. That's all I'm gonna say. Is that I hope that logic prevails. At some point, logic has to kick in, okay? And that logic doesn't care if you're left or you're right, or you're up, you're down, you're black, you're white, whatever. Logic is logic, and I hope that will prevail at some point. So yeah. I think there's still some logical people out there that can talk some sense into other people. I don't know. Germ's one of them. So yeah. Yeah, what else do you guys want to talk about, man? I thought liberalism is why we're dying. We have this desire to progress all the time. Yeah, I don't know, man, but like, isn't there like supposed to be like a point though, like where people just go like, okay, well, we've gone too far, you know? I mean, too much of one thing is not a good thing. Too much of anything is not a good thing, right? I mean, let's bring it back to your body. Okay? If you drink Coke every day, you have 2 liters of Coke. That's not good. It's too much. So too much of anything is never good. And I think we've gone a bit too far here. Like some people need to wake up and realize we're going a bit too far because the consequences in the next 10 years are going to be exponential. And then we're going to look back and we're going to be like, oh shit, we should have like listened to everybody 10 years ago. But we called them crazy and nut jobs and conspiracy theorists, you know, and racists and bigots and all that other stuff because we didn't want to listen to the truth. That's basically what's going to happen. Robert King is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. I will not reveal his age, but it is not the age I thought he was. And I feel betrayed by this man because I thought he was someone else. And it turns out that he's something else. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Robert, good. Thank you for tuning in. I'm still shocked about the news, but I'll eventually get over it. Are we gonna go to Knob? What's happening? What's happening? And for those of you who are wondering, Knob is not a sexual innuendo. It stands for No Ordinary Burger, and it is amazing. I went there this weekend. I go there all the time. It's like my favorite burger joint. Germ, we gotta go. We gotta go. Robert, I'm waiting for that invitation with the Cape Independence group. We gotta go to Knob. And we gotta enjoy some juicy, delicious, huge burgers. Who watched Morbius? I don't know if it's out in South Africa yet. Hold on. It should be. I mean, it's like a blockbuster movie. Stare Kinnicore. Probably is. I don't like going to movies, man. Like, I mean, whoa, that sounded wrong. I do like going to movies. I don't like going to movies now in the current climate that we're in. I love movies though. Like, yeah, it looks like it is out. Change the cinema. Yeah. Morbius, new Marvel Legend arrives. Exclusive to some cinemas. Okay, so it's not in all cinemas. Let's see. Morbius. What the hell is a D-Box? Okay. So it says book now. It's playing at Novo, Prestige, IMAX, 2D IMAX. What's the fun in that? Who goes to 2D IMAX? Why isn't it in 3D IMAX? Why? Oh my word. Really? Spider-Man No Way Home is still playing? Damn. Did not expect that. Cool. Well, let me show you guys what I'm looking at. I mean, it's not like I'm looking at anything like... Okay, so... This is now showing, which is... There we go, Morbius. And there's a lot of pre-book, obviously. It's coming soon. Morbius, there it is. Go watch the trailer. Upcoming movies, guys. Well, not upcoming, like what's playing now. Turning Red, I don't know what that's about. Batman, the Batman. People say it's good. I can't get myself to go watch the Batman. Here's why. I hear it's like over 3 hours long. Like, I got shit to do, guys. Like, 3 hours is like really long, guys. Like, I don't know. Is it worth it? Uncharted, I'm hearing bad things about Uncharted. Disappointing. Here, Spider-Man No Way Home still playing. I don't get it. Like, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, hello. These other movies. I don't know what the hell that says. And then there's Easter in Art. Obviously a religious movie. Which is pre-book, so it's still coming. There's X, which apparently is a horror. This one. Come On, Come On. It's a drama. Mothering Sunday. Okay, apparently Channing Tatum has a new movie. It's called Dog. One word. I don't know. I haven't even heard of any of these movies. Like, this is how out of touch. There's a Sing 2. I didn't even know there was a Sing 1, to be honest. Belfast, which is a nominated movie, apparently. This is what Will Smith, after his monumental slap, he won King Richard. West Side Story is back. Yeah, okay, cool. So, what movies do you guys want to watch, right? Like, just give me a name of the title. If you could go watch a movie right now, which one would it be? Besides the Batman, because everybody's going to say the Batman, not the Batman. I know everybody wants to watch the Batman. So yeah. Let's see on some of the comments I've missed. Blah blah blah. Dale is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Cool, awesome. We'll have to organize something after March. After the March. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I understand that. That's fine. That works out better for me anyway. Dale is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Movies are apparently too woke now. That's sad. I said not the Batman, man. Like, anything else. Like, I know the Batman's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying, what movie would you guys watch other than the Batman? Uncharted? Is that no? X? Come On, Come On. Dog. Sing 2. Belfast. You guys don't know what these movies are about, do you? King Richard? No? It's kind of weird looking at Will Smith now after I know what he did to Chris Rock. Anyway. Yeah, those are the movies that are showing in South Africa. Obviously, like, there's probably more, but it's at Ster-Kinekor, ladies and gentlemen. Uncharted is crap. Well, that's disappointing. But it's probably because they typecast Tom Holland, didn't they? Like, it's Spider-Man in a game. Probably. I wonder how many people were needed to come up with the name Dog. Hey, don't shoot the name of Dog, man. Because, hold on. First of all, okay, let's just, wait. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's just, here is the synopsis of Dog, okay? Briggs is obviously the main character, Channing Tatum, who, alongside his companion Lulu, is obviously the dog, a Belgian Malinois haul-ass down, what? A Belgian Malinois, okay, I think that's the type of dog, haul-ass down the Pacific coast in time to catch their best friend's and handler's funeral. Okay? One of them has a week to live, and the other lives like every day is his last. Huh? Who's dying? I'm so confused. Well, okay, wait. Briggs, who alongside his companion Lulu. Okay, yeah, okay. Briggs and Lulu, okay? They are going very quickly to the Pacific coast in time to catch their best friend's and handler's funeral. Okay, so the handler, it sounds like the dog belonged to the best friend? Or handler, so bred the dog, probably. Okay, so best friend to the guy, handler to the dog. The guy, the best friend, died having a funeral. Okay? One of them has a week to live. So it can't be the handler because he's already dead. That's why you're going to the funeral, right? So one of the main characters, the dog or Channing, have a week to live. I can tell you now, it's Channing has a week to live. No, the dog has a week to live because that's how these movies do it. The dog has a week to live. It's been years. Dog's gonna die. Whatever. Okay, let's go to the funeral. It's like a whole like it's comedy, but at the same time they're going like down memory lane on the trip. Blah blah blah. It's a heartfelt, warm movie about a man and his dog and all the memories they had together. I think it's a good movie. I really think I figured out this movie. I really do. Just by reading that synopsis, I figured it out. I don't need to watch it. It's a good movie. Go watch it. Someone's gonna go watch it and then comment later like, Joe, it was cock. And the dog dies. What else? Okay, so Germ says Gucci movie was good. I know he's being sarcastic. Isn't that the... Where's that? Where is it? Oh my word, Sonic 2. Oh my word, they actually did it. There's a Sonic 2, guys. How and why, I don't know. Am I missing the movie Gucci? Or is it not showing? Germ, are you just like shouting out random movies? You have to choose one that's on here, man. Or am I? Oh, there it is. House of Gucci. It's a drama. Okay, if that floats your boat, Germ. He looks too young. Who? Channing. He says no. Really, it was good. Really? Okay. Well, it is an Oscar nominee. Not that really means anything. Spending 3 decades of love, betrayal, decadence, revenge, and ultimately murder. We see what a name means, what it's worth, and how far a family will go for control. Don't know why I switched like that. Wait, hold on. I want to try it again. Spanning 3 decades of love, betrayal, decadence, revenge, and ultimately murder. We see what a name means, what it's worth, and how far a family will go for control. I don't know what accent that is, but yeah. It sounds exciting. I'll give it that. It sounds exciting. I forgot about Sonic. It's forgettable. Yeah, Sonic 1 was definitely forgettable. I was very disappointed in Sonic 1. Jared Leto, Al Pacino were great. Oh, wow. Okay, so Jared Leto and Al Pacino in Gucci. Okay. Adam Driver's also in here. Okay, whoa. Okay, I'm not a fan of Lady Gaga, but I'll check out The House of Gucci. Germ's got good taste in movies, so if he says Gucci was good and he's being serious, then I'll check out Gucci. Okay, I'll check it out. Tom Holland, too young. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Shame. That's probably because they want to make Uncharted 2 and 3, so yeah. You know, he kind of grows with the movie, so to speak. What else? Yeah, okay, we're done with this, I think. I got 10 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen, till my guest shows up. Moonfall is good. Moonfall. Where's Moonfall? Moonfall. Wait, hold on. I actually want to see what Sonic 2 is about. Sequel to the 2020 live action feature film Sonic the Hedgehog. So they don't even say like, oh well, Sonic's gonna die in this one. No, it's the sequel, guys. Really, I did not know because Sonic the Hedgehog 2 didn't give it away. What was that one I was looking for? Moonfall. Why does that sound so familiar? Moonfall. Am I blind? I don't see Moonfall. I see Morbius. Where did you see Moonfall? I feel like Zach is pulling my leg or something. I don't know. Am I blind? Turning Red, the Batman. Silent Voice, X. Just out of curiosity, I gotta see. Is this like an X that just goes around killing people? In 1979, so this is what the movie X is about. It's a horror, apparently. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. Why does it have to be Texas? But when their reclusive elderly host catches them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. So basically, it's a movie, okay? It's a movie about these liberals, these like probably libtards or whatever. Like, just I'm putting it in context, right? So, so it's a group of these wokey liberals, right? They decide to make a porno, and they go to. I don't know why you wouldn't just go to Hollywood. I don't know why you think to yourself, "Oh, let's go to Texas and do this." And you find a house in Texas, okay? And apparently with an old man, right? Because it says elderly host, okay? Reclusive means he is an old man. He doesn't like being around people. He's alone, all right? You just happen to find this place and say, yeah, let's do it here. And you think the old man's not going to freak out and be like, get out of my house? This sounds like a very sane man, in my honest opinion. Moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, don't make pornos. Oh man, I kind of want to watch it now just to see what happens. I mean, these movies are getting weird now, though. I mean, this is not going to be a good movie. I can tell you now. It's not. And why in 1979? Oh, the hippie. Okay, so it's hippies. Hippies went to the house. You know what happened? It's hippies that went to the Chainsaw Massacre's house. That's what happened. And oh, that's some funny shit. Whoa, hey Zach, nothing is wrong with Texas, man. I was born in Texas. I'm not saying anything's wrong with Texas. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do this, right? If you're gonna make an adult film, okay, I don't think a house in the prairie, in a ranch in Texas is the place to do it. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a lot of other places where you can do that would probably be a lot more accepting to the idea, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah. Cool. Let me just see if my guest is going to join any moment now. She should. And we'll go on a break. Anyway, that was interesting. I don't know why it's called X, though. That probably, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, if you go to a old man's house in Texas who doesn't like to be bothered, okay, and you try and make an adult film in his house, there's going to be consequences. Like, I don't need to watch the movie. I mean, they're so stupid. Anyway, that's what horror movies are doing now. Really. I mean, the last good horror movie I saw was Paranormal Activity. 1, 2, and 3. After that, not so much. I mean, I watched them, but didn't really enjoy them. I mean, they were still okay. But yeah. So yeah. Shale saying yes, I do know, and I'm not streaming the president tonight. I have a guest, Bronwyn Williams, who I really want to interview. And I don't want to blow her off for the president. Besides, she's much more interesting than the president. So yeah. I will probably catch up with what the president said after the stream, and then I'll probably do a 1-minute video on it tomorrow. Or if I don't do that, I'll have Rob Hutchinson from DRSA, to give us a follow-up on what is happening next, because I'm sure that tonight's speech in some way will affect the DRSA thing, that's their campaign that is going on. So well, if it's really bad, if he says something like, oh, we're just going to go on with the implementing what we want to implement, that's going to be very interesting. Okay, my guest is in the green room, ladies and gentlemen. My guest has joined in the green room. She's waiting. So I'm going to take a quick break, make sure everything is A-okay, and then everybody will be back in probably less than 5 minutes. So stick around, share, like the stream, do all that. We'll be back with Bronwyn Williams. We're going to talk about what is a futurist, because she's one, apparently, and modern monetary theory. I've been wanting to chat to someone about that theory for quite some time. I did have Buddy Wells on the show previously to chat about it, and I didn't quite understand it. I'm going to be honest. It took, I don't know. I didn't get it. Maybe Bronwyn can shed some light on the topic and tell us whether it's a good idea for South Africa or not. And of course, we'll be chatting about other stuff as well. So stick around, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. While we're having a bit of a break and while we're here, I just thought I would let you guys know that you can become a member to this channel. When you become a member to this channel, there are 2 tiers. There's the Support Act and the Headliner Act. Each tier has its own perks. I'm not going to go into all the details right now, but just click on the join button, usually right next to the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, by the way, subscribe. If you want to become a member, it would be greatly appreciated. It really goes a long way to supporting the channel and helping me to continue to create content for you guys. And just in case you might be interested, for some of you who may not know, I am also a stand-up comedian, and I have a one-man show coming up in June of this year. There is a link in the description with all the details that you need to know, when, where, and how much, so please go check it out in the description below. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back. And as I promised, it was going to be less than 5 minutes. I have with me Bronwyn Williams, ladies and gentlemen. She is, well, I'm going to actually start this off the way she starts her podcast. Bronwyn, in your own words, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Bronwyn Williams. I'm a partner at a company called Flux Trends, where we do unpack trends as business strategy. We know essentially as Futurist, which we can get into. And I'm also a partner at a company called Metanomic, based in Scotland, where we're trying to build, or we are in the process of building, really exciting software to help people in the gaming economies or gaming environment to effectively price their economies. In other words, to bring real rules around scarcity and value to gaming markets, as increasingly they try to open themselves up to the wonders of Web3 and crypto and play and earn gaming and all the rest of it. So hopefully taking some of the principles that we should be, but aren't applying to our real world economies, as you alluded to in your intros, and trying to build more solid basis for economies going forward, at least as we start to virtualize even further into the metaverse. So they might sound quite divergent, those 2 sort of careers that I have at the moment. But as I like to say, well, I'm a futurist for many and an economist for fun. So that kind of ties it all up together. Or you can just consider me to be a kind of contemporary court jester. So going around and shaking cages and hopefully being at least slightly funny about it as we do so, as we try and speak truth to power. So that's basically who I am, what I do. And you can unpack that if I've confused you in any way, shape, or form.
No, it sounds great, and I couldn't have said it better. So thank you for the lovely introduction. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Bronwyn does also have a podcast, which you can punt at the end of the show and tell people where to go to find you and stuff like that. I highly encourage people to go watch. You have interesting conversations with interesting people. And yeah, Bronwyn, I do want to get into right away the whole futurist thing, because you're not the only futurist I've met recently. But I didn't have a chance. The guy that told me, oh, he's a futurist, was at a party, and I didn't have a chance to really get into it. So maybe you can give a nice definition for what exactly is a futurist. Is it someone who looks at or looks out for the possibility of Terminator maybe taking over one day?
Sure, well, it's a very broad term. At its basis definition, we're all futurists. In fact, if you didn't have any sort of sense of the future and your ability to at least control some part of it, we wouldn't get out of bed. I mean, like we are prediction machines as human beings. We predict like what we're going to eat later today. And even if we're not consciously predicting, we're predicting moving our bodies when we try and catch a ball or pick up a cup of coffee or whatever sort of that whole thing is. So, like we are all futurists, but professional futurists, what we tend to do is to really not so much predict the future as to try and make sure it is less shitty than it could be. So we kind of hoping to alert people to potential opportunities that they might have missed, and also to prevent mistakes that are avoidable. So that's really as simple as it is. It involves really getting to grips with empirical and instrumental rationality, which are very big words to say that we need to understand the world as it is if we hope to change it in a direction that we want it to go in. So empirical rationality is being very objective about the state of the current mess that we have, the world as it is with all of its messy problems, and instrumental rationality, which is what futurists try and do through both foresight and through forecasting, all those sorts of tools, is to try and then make decisions that get us to where we want to be. In other words, it's to make decisions that actually end in the result that we want, not in unintended consequences and not in the opposite of what we have intended. So it's the sort of skills we all need in our lives, but perhaps our policymakers and politicians who actually make decisions on behalf of a whole lot of us need even more of these skills, because they are obviously taking on decisions that have greater consequences. So it'd be nice to know that they are at least, first of all, being honest about the current situation, and secondly, taking a sort of steps that will solve the problems they say they're solving rather than making things worse. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily the world works, but
Yeah,
that's ideal. So profit is probably a better word than a futurist for what we do.
Okay.
Like change your ways, come to Jesus, those sorts of speeches, right?
Well, is it a general, like, do you look at the entire world, or do you specifically look at where you're at, and taking it even further, or do you only look in terms of like an economically or socially, or does it encompass everything?
Oh, we cover everything. That is something. Excuse me.
No worries.
Sorry, should have had some water before I came on. Yep.
No worries.
I'm dealing with the post-COVID cold, right? All
Yeah.
the germs that laid in wait for us, and then jumped out after saying we're back after 2 years of being. But in terms of actually being a decent futurist, I firmly believe that you have to be a generalist to do our sort of role. We are expert generalists. If we are domain specific, then we are effectively just consultants. We're not actually looking at the big picture and everything that's going on in the world. Quite often you have futurists that bill themselves as technology futurists, or like metaverse futurists, or political futurists, but then they are missing the picture. They're only looking at a small slice of the pie. The reason why people engage with us, particularly businesses that pay us money to do the work that we do, we're very fortunate to do, they are looking at us to bring an outsider's perspective to the industry, because everybody knows their own life, their own business, their own job better than you or I would. And we're not supposed to know more about your own specific domain of expertise than you are. Rather, our role is to kind of, as I describe it quite often using quite a silly metaphor, kind of the contemporary equivalents of watchmen standing on a watchtower, scanning the horizon, looking for the marauding hordes that perhaps, the king and his men sitting, waiting to go to battle, and the ladies in waiting, one trying to dress their hair or whatever they used to do in medieval times, weren't able to actually keep an eye on all the time because they were busy with day-to-day life. So our role really is to look at everything that's going on in the world and to spot those changes on the fringes that could impact the mainstream for better or for worse, to essentially sort of buy you a bit of time. And that's why you do have to have quite a good general knowledge and be able to connect very divergent dots if you're going to be useful in this role. So you do require a large general knowledge, both in breadth and in depth, which is something a lot of people tend to forget too. And by depth, it's not just superficial understanding of what's going on in the world, but a deep understanding of at least a little bit of everything, and also good context in terms of space and time. So understanding history and geography and how all the macro trends really are connected together.
Okay. So you do a lot of reading. I'm sure.
I do.
So Germ is so Germ's been asking, I don't know if you know who Germ is, but he says, Joe, she's a futurist, but is she a historist? I'm trying to remember if she and I have met. Might be the wrong Bronwyn, sorry, I'm thinking of.
I don't know if we met, but I do firmly believe that we need to root ourselves in time, and that understanding history gives us a much better perspective as to where we headed. I think a lot of people in the future space tend to follow technology, but technology is a lagging, not actually a leading indicator. Technology is an emergent phenomenon, and it started with, of course, human decisions that were taken some time ago. So you really want to see where things are heading, you really need to look back in time. The farther behind you look, the further ahead you're able to really contextualize what's going on. And critically, you're able to then separate the distinction between short-term trends and macro trends. Macro trends play out over millennia, not over sort of weeks and months. They're not to do with what shoes we're going to be wearing next spring, but rather the sort of the greater trajectory of the course of history, the cycles that come and go, and the incentives and levers and trade-offs that have guided human civilization since we crawled out of the mud, or whatever your particular religious sort of context is. You know, whenever we started, whatever your origin story for our species is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I want to ask you, being a futurist, what do you see South Africa being like in like 10 years from now?
Not all that different to how we are right now. We already live in quite a frayed society here in South Africa. We already live on the edge of anarchy. If you want to look at the difference between like state of nature and the Leviathan, we're definitely closer to the state of nature over here. And the state of nature can continue for quite a long time. Humans are quite good at dealing with chaos and dealing with changes like that. And because of the general instability, those sorts of things carry on. And they also tend to sort of break down, how do I put it, in a sort of a slower way, right? Rather than a big cataclysm, because our society has been on the edge of chaos for already so long, actually for as long as living memory. South Africa's always been, one step away from total disaster. We're very good at making a plan and a sort of sweeping our issues under the carpet and kind of carrying on. So I wouldn't say we're going to see massive dramatic change in South Africa over the next 10 years. There are, of course, a few wild cards that could come into play. I don't think that the whole Cape succession thing, which is like the big sort of wild card potential thing, is actually going to happen. The critical mass just not within a 10-year time frame. But those sorts of fractures are going to be amplified. At the same time, sort of the general political malaise does continue on. I can definitely see that our ruling party's still got a couple of election cycles in them, as much as that's not particularly cheerful news for a lot of people. People will be looking for more of an accelerationist end so that we can build something up. I think are going to be quite disappointed there. I think that we carry on kind of messing up in interesting sort of fringy fraying kind of ways, but there's also some good trends and green shoots that are emerging. We still do have quite robust institutions, which just buy us a bit of time and a bit of leg room. And the other sort of elephant in the room here is that the more chaotic the rest of the world is, the kind of the longer runway we've got to get our own house in order here. And the rest of the world is heading into a season of chaos. I see South Africa in a large degree as being kind of a leading indicator for the global malaise of the wider weird West, of which we are a part. I mean, like we are in Africa, but our culture, the content we consume, the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the way we think and talk is very westernized here, and that's cutting across all about various different racial and demographic groups. The fact of the matter is we do tend to act and think a lot like the media that we consume, and a lot of that is imported. These sorts of things happen. But anyway, nonetheless, South Africa can be seen as a leading indicator of what's happening in the greater Weird Western project, as we are a few years ahead of the sort of unraveling of our social contracts. That's the nice balance between taxes coming in on the one hand and social expenditure on another, that we see sort of playing out across everywhere, from Europe to the UK to the USA to South America. Now, Australia, New Zealand, all these places are going to come and face the same challenges we face, but we face them faster due to our unique political history and our increased or our greater weight towards dependence in our population as a starting point, whereas other countries are kind of only getting to that point. And that's when you start to see all these sort of fractures come into our societies, and where you have more chaos, more anarchy, and at the same time more opportunity, because good things can happen in times of chaos as well as bad things. So that's when opportunities and fortunes are made for those who are able to see a way through the crazy.
Yeah.
They're very insane. So you need a rainy day.
No, I agree with that. I'm hung up on the part where you said the ANC is still going to be in power for a while. That's a scary thought, because think tanks such as CRA and the polling that IRR has done would have us believe that, and Franz Cornier last year made a good point and argument to say that at least, if not 2024, then 2029, the ANC will definitely be out of power, because its main voter base would be old and out, like most of them dead because old people die, and the younger generation will be voting for someone else because they would have seen the turmoil that the country's in.
Voting for anyone at all. That's the reality.
What? Sorry, say that again. You broke up.
The younger people aren't voting for anyone at all. That's the reality.
Well, that's
see is part of democracy. And the truth of the matter is, without politics, whatever you think of any of the parties that are out there, there are no viable competitors to the ANC. There's just none. There's no other horse in the race. Like, there's a great Adam Curtis quote. I've been coming back to Adam Curtis a lot lately. I know that many futurists and many people roll their eyes at him because he's very dramatic. But when he's talking about sort of hyper-normalization and the whole sort of general media and conversation and discourse around our globalized society at the moment, but he kind of speaks about the reason why we can't challenge any of the crazy, like the obvious insanity in our systems, is because there's no counter narrative. There's no other offer on the table that's actually viable. That will survive to birth.
Well, that's a good point as well.
That will happen. But I think that my biggest sort of criticism to that viewpoint is, look, we do quite a lot of work with Flex Trains with the youth, and the youth are hugely apathetic towards our economy, towards society, towards politics. They're simply sitting out of politics. What we need to watch out for, where the actual change to the real competitions the ANC is going to come from, is not from the DAs. Sorry, white guys in Cape Town. There's just not enough of you. It doesn't work that way. The numbers do not stack up, and you have had far too many own goals. You're out. You're not a viable contender. Then you've got the EFF. And the EFF has got rich too soon. Even everyone has seen through there already. But like, champagne communism is only supposed to kick in once you get into power. On the way up, you got to pretend to be poor at least. Like, there's no credibility there. Like, young people aren't impressed with the fake socialism. Like, you got to actually be a real revolutionary. And for me, the critical tipping point in South Africa is going to come when the youth-led messiah for Generation Z, or the born free generation, rises up. There is no one representative of our big, hungry, youthful generation. There were a few sort of characters that came out of like the Fees Must Fall movements, but none of them have actually picked up the baton and run with it. Had this conversation with a couple of academics actually this week, speaking about exactly that, how the Fees Must Fall leaders were actually tamed by commerce in South Africa. They were plucked out of student politics and straight into corporate, becoming part of the problem rather than part of the solution going forward. There's a huge leadership vacuum in our country. As you said, it's aging politicians. They're the only ones that we have. And for the next couple of election cycles, I don't see this changing unless that youth messiah rises up. And that's a power vacuum that could be critically scary for this country, because if that messiah is a good guy or a bad guy, a good king or a bad king, that's going to be the tipping point of South Africa. That's my point of view, just due to the sheer numbers on size and the fact that there's no palatable menu item for anyone under the age of 30 in this country currently on the political menu, which is why the status quo kind of trundles on almost like a headless bureaucratic kind of monster
Hmm.
that can perpetuate even without powerful leaders at the top, because this is a patronage corruption monster that's been built and will continue rolling no matter who's at the throne, until you kind of got the new missionary Messiah-like character that will ultimately rise up. Hopefully not a strong man, but that's the scariest scenario playing out here, where you get a strong man populist character, a young man populist character, not like a sort of Trump or a Putin or these sort of aging boomers, but rather one of the African generation that captures the youth and can lead them either to the promised land or to absolute destruction. And that's what we need to be so scared of in a world with this doesn't have any clear idea of the future, no prevailing counter narratives. That's a black hole. That's a hole that's going to attract something. And if we're not attracting and filling that void with something inspiring and positive and that we can get behind for the right reasons, well, we're going to get someone that's going to drag a whole lot of people behind them for the wrong reasons. We are primed for a mass movement in our underemployed, unemployed, youthful, idle population. I'm not saying that it's a judgment. I'm saying that there's simply we have provided no opportunities and no inspiration for a large, hungry generation. And that pent up energy can be deployed for good or for ill. We must be very careful of that. That's when we're going to see change. That character has not arrived yet. Sorry, Musi, it's not you. Sorry, Julius, it's not you. We're waiting. And you should be concerned.
Oh, well, would you say, because like a lot of people thought that Action SA may be that driving force. I don't think Action SA is really touched on youth. I don't think there's a lot of youth. I don't know. I could be wrong.
They're old. They've been around this block. It's the same characters that have been, in the stories.
Yeah. So Action SA, same thing. Not the one.
No, I don't think so. It's gonna. We're talking about a populist revolution. Yeah, we're not talking about a character, a messiah, someone
Yeah.
people can rally behind. So
And
we're talking about an actual character politician, which we have not had for a long time. We've only had parties, and that's what's going to rally the youth behind them. So whether it's like a Maggie Thatcher type character, if you're more conservative, or whether it's like a Che Guevara, we could get any of those. We could get a young Lenin, a young Stalin. Like we could get a Pol Pot. We don't know what's going to come up out of that vacuum, but it's not any of these aging bureaucrats that we've currently got playing party politics at the moment. None of those are going to change the status quo.
no,
None of them are going to form viable coalitions either. Let's be honest too. They all ex-lovers, all of those parties. Like nobody's able to settle down and play happy families.
No, absolutely. I didn't have much faith in the coalition stuff anyway. But so basically, one could say you predict a revolution at some point.
Well, I do. We do predict a revolution, but like how that revolution comes about can come about in various different ways. Honestly, even that whole sort of idea of a youth leader coming up out of South Africa would still be positive, because it indicates change, that it indicates hope that things can change for the better. And of course, that power needs to be harnessed, hopefully, towards good ends, not towards sort of populist dictatorships, which is kind of the worst case scenario. But there's another scenario that effectively, if we don't come up with that revolutionary, that the power vacuum is filled from abroad, that it's filled again by the various different forms of neo-colonization that are going on at the moment, mainly financial. Like as the power balance as our financial systems have virtualized and financialized, the power balance has shifted to the virtualized, financialized sector, which means that if you want to take over nations these days, you don't actually go and do what Putin's doing. He's like an aging dictator from like a different era, when doing old school warfare, right? Like it's a very old-fashioned way to sort of colonize a country, to actually roll in their own tanks. The new way is just simply to buy them out, to control via money, by money as a proxy for power at the financial level. And that's where you've got like your Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And I'm going to do a shout out to Malcolm Ray, whose book I'm like shamelessly promoting at the moment for no financial compensation, just because it's really cool and it cuts right across the political spectrum. And he's written about the tyranny of growth, which unpacks very objectively the great heist, essentially the American colonial project, and how they've trapped emerging markets from South America right through to Africa and parts of Asia in debt and capital-based systems that are tied to the dollar, which is very founded and funded and backed by bigger military might than we can hope to compete with. But anyway, that's the part where the power vacuum will come from if we don't have our own revolutionary leaders to take the narrative of Africa and South Africa in particular forward. It's going to be taken over and subsumed by bigger, stronger states, whether that's from the West or from the East. There are many predatory hands that understand that literally the future is in Africa, because quite frankly, white people are going extinct, like because of antinatalism and just due to sheer numbers, right? Especially in the degrowth Europe and America framework at the moment, where people are way below birth replacement rates. There's no future there. Their future is shifted from growth to degrowth, to aging, stagnation, and making themselves smaller. The only growth is going to come from either working with or exploiting the African youngest continent. So that's our challenge.
Yo, you're painting a really painting kind of a archaic, barbaric kind of future there. Like, it sounds like it's gonna get rough.
It's all about power, like Volkov said. It's all about power. It's all about power. It's power behind money.
Oh man, it sounds intense.
Is there? Always has been. Civilization is a very thin veneer, right? And
yeah,
what we call democracy and civilization is like 3 hot meals away from anarchy. Like, that's it. No matter how civilized we think we are, that's it. And as we sort of switch the lights off, quite literally, with our nice little degrowth agenda at the moment, well, we're going to start counting those calories, right? There's not many meals to spare.
Yeah, it's a scary thought. I've been saying for a while, not on this channel, but I've like with friends and people, because like I'm not like a huge historian, but I do like history, and I read up about it when I can. I've been predicting a revolution to happen in South Africa for quite some time. I never could tell people when it was going to happen, but I'm saying like there are certain symptoms in this country that are building towards it. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in 2 years. I don't know if it's going to happen in 10 years, but these symptoms are happening. So yeah, in a way, it feels reassuring that someone like you that does what you do also says, yeah, it's possible. So scary thought, but at the same time, like you said, could be a good thing. Let's get into, you touched on finances just now and how the world works with all that stuff and buying other countries out and stuff like that. Modern monetary theory, all right? I saw your episode with David Ansara, and you briefly spoke about modern monetary theory, and you said it was somewhat colonial, or like it was like not colonial, but like it was almost like the colonists used to do, where they took the land. You're talking about the virtual land.
Yeah, and it's very simple. It takes from the weak to the strong.
Yes.
Malcolm Ray's thesis in his book Tyranny of Growth is a complementary sort of thesis to this, but it all points to the same direction. That it's all about the strong take from the weak, and the weak suffer what they must. Like very, very like ancient history. Like, it's a very classical motto. That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But like in the Tyranny of Growth, he speaks about GDP as a metric being used essentially as a weapon to essentially trap developing markets in debt cycles, like holding us to the whims and to the rules of international bodies, like international unelected bodies like your IMF and all the rest of it. But the modern monetary theory is just it's another way to excuse quite bad bullying behavior. But what is particularly interesting about modern monetary theory is that it's billed as progressive at home, but internationally, of course, it's hugely regressive. So we can kind of unpack the theory on, again, those 3 levels, like instrumental, empirical, or an ethical basis. And I'm going to start with this sort of the empirical kind of study that it says. Essentially, like the thesis behind modern monetary theory, for those that aren't sort of familiar with it, is the idea that essentially the government spends money into existence, is what MMT fanboys will tell you that it is. And in a certain level, that's true, because the central bank is to choose how many dollars. And I'm going to use dollars because MMT is a particularly dollar-based thesis. And it's important we get that right, because what you can do empirically and instrumentally with modern monetary theory, you can do in some places, but you cannot in others. And empirically, their sort of theory is that money is spent into existence by governments, and that actually money doesn't come from the people, rather it comes from the king or from the printing press, right? which you could probably justify to a certain degree once the system is already in motion. But if you think about value, and I always think, because this is what I literally do as my day job, like working for this for this gaming company, we're trying to separate real and virtual value and all the rest of it, is that there's a big distinction between money and between real value. There's a very big distinction between the real economy and the financialized economy. Like in Econs 101 textbooks, they'll tell you the real economy is real stuff. It's a company, it's a car, it's a piece of land, it's a bar of gold, it's a puddle of oil, it's stuff. Like, and it's me and you trading, touching, like it's real, it's quite easy. The financialized economy, quite simply, is claims on the real economy. And the financialized economy includes money. Money is not a chicken sandwich, but money can be exchanged for a chicken sandwich. It can be a claim on a chicken sandwich. A share certificate is not a company, but it can be exchanged for a share of a company's profits, right? A title deed is not a house. An NFT is not a picture that you can exchange it for the thing, or at least in theory, right? So you can exchange your NFT for you to go see your favorite band playing a concert, or for a fart in a jar from an influencer, or whatever you're into. So that's what it claims, okay? But the critical thing with trying to understand the financialized economy is that's where money lives. So while governments can control the money supply and can spend money into existence and don't technically have to worry about debt, because quite frankly, who's going to make America pay back the money? Who's going to make the world pay back the many trillions and trillions of dollars that we're in debt to ourselves, right? Because it's all just accounting. Money is unreal. Money doesn't actually exist. It affects the real economy, but it affects it by distorting it. And what happens in the modern monetary theory idea, which kind of follows on from Keynesian thinking, and they've sort of evolved it to be even more surreal, hyper-real, disconnected from reality, in that essentially they're saying because money is spent into existence by governments, debt at a national level doesn't really matter. And that governments can increase money supply, in other words, do inflation, make more money, not print. They'll be very quick to tell you not printing, because we don't print money anymore, we just change numbers on the screen. But you can make more of it and use that money that you just conjured out of nowhere to buy real stuff. In other words, to kickstart the economy. And the theory behind it, to be as charitable as possible, says that in times when economies are shrinking, sometimes we have people that are saving more money, but not actually investing that back into the economy. Classic economics says savings equals to investment, which means that the more we save, the more we invest. But if people start hoarding, like that you start stuffing your cash under the mattress in your bed instead of investing it into a business, or spending, which our economies require, growth at all costs, or the whole sort of debt wheels, flywheel sort of falls over, then what we can have is an economy that isn't growing and supporting as many jobs as possible as if the money was flowing. So the idea, and it comes out of sort of monetarist kind of theory and also Keynesian type economics, it says that firstly, we can impact the real economy by changing the money supply, but secondly, that government should be a primary sort of provider of such manipulation. So the idea is we increase the money supply, we pump it into the economy to force that money to start circulating and to stop the money from being sort of hoarded, because economies do work best when the money is flowing. Money should be spread around, encouraging young things to grow, as always, like Barbara Streisand used to sing in Hello Dolly and all the rest of it. So in that regard, that makes sense. But there are, of course, catches. There's no free lunches in this world. And the thing is that, yes, you can increase your own money supply, but there's a few things you have to have before you do that, or you end up with hello 2022 runaway global inflation. Thank you, Joe Biden and friends.
Yep.
We already seen the evidence. So we'll put that pin in that for that when we get the sort of instrumental rationality point there. But anyway, even according to the theory, there are three things you have to do in order to actually be able to just spend your money into existence, like the wonderful free money tree dream of modern monetary theory kind of says. The first thing is you need monetary sovereignty, which already discludes like the whole of the EU, for example, because countries in the EU have a single currency for the whole union. We in South Africa have monetary sovereignty. We can print our own rands. America has monetary sovereignty. They can print their own dollars. El Salvador, who just adopted Bitcoin, does not have monetary sovereignty. El Salvador was using the dollar, which meant that they were subject to the decisions that the dollar was making in terms of their money supply and how that works. That's why they were able to adopt Bitcoin, because quite frankly, they weren't losing anything because they didn't have sovereign control of their own money to start with. The second thing that's important if you're going to be able to just print money, is that you have to have other people believe that your money is worth what you've just printed. Now, if you lived in a Robinson Crusoe economy, if you had an entirely closed off economy where you were disconnected from the rest of the world, you'd be able to do that because everybody within your borders would be subject to your own laws of the land, and they're all forced to agree in the value of their currency. But we don't. We live in a globalized world where money flows across borders, and we need to buy apples from like Spain, and Spain's got to buy carrots from South Africa. We have a globalized economy, which means the money flows across borders. And that's why it's quite important that if you want to engage in just sort of manipulating your money supply, you have to have people agree that your money is worth what you say it is. Now, that's quite easy when you're America. You can like literally have a record dollar printing. Yeah, and if people say, no, wait a minute, like your dollars aren't worth $1 anymore. Well, you can say, guess what? I got more nukes than you, quite frankly, and you kind of have to take it, or I'll just take your whole country. I mean, like that's oversimplifying the problem, but that's basically why the oil price is fixed, right? Like it's just power, it's just bullying. Like this is very basic. Kids on a playground figure this shit out. However, if you're like a Zimbabwe and you decide to double your monetary supply, the rest of the world will laugh at you. And when you say, take my Zimbo dollars, like take them, everyone else will say, actually, no. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have credibility. And how we sort of actually see this in more sort of technical terms is that essentially that you're able to get debt. In other words, you're able to get a credit line denominated in your own currency. So in other words, America is able to borrow in dollars and pay it back with dollars that it just prints itself. Like if Zimbabwe tried to do that, try to pay back a loan to America with dollars that it had printed itself, Zimbabwe dollars that printed itself, America would say, haha, no, you can pay us in real dollars, right? So South Africa technically also is allowed on that second pillar because we do still have some credibility in across the rest of the world. People will accept rands for repayment and will issue us rand-denominated loans. That is changing as we abuse that, but we have not been a particularly guilty money printing nation at the moment because the people that work at our central bank do live in the world of reality, unlike some of the sort of other modern monetary theory pimping people in this country. They realize that credibility and expectations is everything when it comes to global economics, and that if we overplay that hand, we'll end up the way of Zimbabwe. It's that simple, because when your credibility runs out, your credit runs out. And the third thing that's important in order for even the theory of modern monetary theory to work is there to be an output gap. Now, an output gap means that essentially your economy is running at less than optimal level. Coming back to that idea of that we have less money flowing through the economy than we should be. In other words, people are hoarding and not spending and not investing, like I was talking about, which means that the economy isn't running on full speed, which means putting more money in could hopefully try and heat it up. Now, there's a catch with the output gap too, in that if you overshoot the output gap, that's when you get inflation. Because now you've got too much money chasing too few goods. So in other words, people pull their cash out of their mattresses and start spending. Suddenly the price of everything goes up and we get a lovely wage price inflationary cycle, which we've seen playing out right now across the world. Everyone knows everything's getting more expensive right now.
Yeah.
So the point is, instrumentally, yes, we have overshot that shark, thanks particularly to America, and sort of jumping the shark there and increasing all that supply. Prices are now going up. Mainly not because America doesn't have sovereignty or because it doesn't have credibility in the form of a very big army and very big guns. That'll do for credit, right? Like that credibility can come from faith and belief in your currency, like Bitcoin, or from forced belief. Like if you don't believe us, we will just take it anyway, right? You don't have to play nice, right? So we've kind of seen that play out at the moment, and that's kind of where we're at. But it kind of gets worse than that, in that now we can come to the point of the ethics of what we're talking about here. So instrumentally can work up till a point if those three levers are in place and if you don't overshoot it, but it's very hard to judge when you're going to overshoot it or not. So you often end up overcooking it, and then you've got inflation, now you got to pull it back. What do? Increase taxes? That's the way the theory says you can pull some of the money back, but it's an imperfect science. It's a chaotic system, people are complicated, and incentives will be played. But I think that a reason a lot of people promote these policies is because they seem quite progressive. Inflation and any sort of inflationary policy is a form of taxation, because what it does essentially is it allows governments to use their signage sort of leverage, which means that the government gets the first drink at that tap where the money is coming out of, right? And that money is injected into a particular part of the economy. That's a sort of Cantillon effect, right? So wherever that money is deployed first, after it's been freshly minted and put into the economy, those people have a chance to purchase goods at the original price before the real prices have shifted upwards. So in other words, if I printed 10 brand new dollars and I gave you 9 of them and I kept one back to give to somebody else sitting in your audience, but I didn't give it to the other guy until maybe next week, but I gave it to you right now, you would go out and you'd be able to buy a can of Coke for the same price that the can of Coke was this morning. But by the time your $9 have circulated through the economy, the retailers are like, wait a minute, there's like more money chasing the same amount of goods. We need to increase our prices. They've increased their prices. Now I give the last dollar to the other guy and he goes out, but he's now paying twice the price for his can of Coke because the prices have started to inflate. So that's why inflation can be seen as progressive. If governments essentially steal from everyone, which is what happens when you inflate money, because there's more money, but there's still the same amount of stuff, and then they give that money to poorer people or to weaker groups or to people at a disadvantage, it can be seen as a progressive policy. In other words, what happens then is that, in theory at least, rich people get slightly poorer in real terms, if not nominal terms, and poor people get slightly richer. Like that's what they did with the helicopter money during COVID, right? They gave it to poor people in particular. If you were below a certain income level, you got a nice chunk of change, and you got to spend that money before the prices increased. So you felt richer for a little bit. Of course, eventually the prices catch up, but somebody still kind of did get not a free lunch, but a lunch that somebody else paid for. Because again, money is unreal. Money changes and distorts who owns things in the real world. It changes the claims on the real world. It doesn't actually change the real world. But it is sold as being progressive, or at least ethical, if the changes benefit the weak at the expense of the strong, or the poor at the expense of the rich, in theory. However, again, we live in a globalized economy. So even if in theory, the helicopter money, the record-breaking helicopter MMT, free for you and me money that Joe Biden and co dropped from the sky during COVID, ended up going first and foremost to the weakest people in America. The truth is, America is part of a global world, and that money didn't land only in America. That money also ended up buying real goods, real services, and real Cape Town waterfront property here in South Africa. And there's no way we, as South Africans, can compete with that. Again, there are sticky prices, and again, we don't get to increase our money supply by that level to go and buy American goods. So what essentially ends up happening is that these sort of distortionary monetary-based policies end up distorting who owns stuff. And what ends up, after all the dust is settled, and once the music is stopped on musical chairs, the strong end up with more of the stuff that used to belong to the weak. We end up with the monopoly money, and they end up with the beach fund property. And this is something that people are slowly starting to realize is happening across the world, because we're all competing for the same goods, but we're playing with different games. We're playing with a different set of rules. Some countries have the ability to make their own money. Other people do not. And we've been kind of conned with the free market. The free market works. Everyone's playing by the same rules. But when you've got like Americans playing with rules that we can't play with in our own borders, suddenly that doesn't make so much sense anymore. It's not a free market at all. Rather, it's a very rigged game. And this game is rigged on many, many levels. Again, like Malcolm Ray's book goes more into the debt question. I've spoken more about the money question here. But all these things show that sort of might ends up being right, not morally right, but empirically right, because they do end up with the stuff. So you know what? If you're an American, congratulations. Well done for stealing food out of small African babies' mouths. Congratulations. Very progressive.
Woo! That was quite a mic drop at the end. Yeah.
If you're tired of preaching to me about how progressive they are for supporting this policy.
Look, I've never. I had Buddy Wells on the show. Mentioned it before I brought you on, and you know, he's a very big advocate of modern monetary theory. He tried to convince me and another, it was Gabriel Kraus, that it's a good option to go with, and South Africa can do it. But I felt that a lot of his arguments kind of didn't really touch home with me, if I can put it that way. And I always felt that modern monetary theory, it just didn't, just the fact that a government prints more money is not a good thing. Even if you are and America. Yeah, you can bully and you can give that credibility, but we're seeing it now, like you mentioned earlier. There's inflation, people are suffering, and obviously with this whole war with Ukraine and Russia, things are getting even worse with the petrol now going up in America. It's insane. So yeah, I'm glad that you explained it the way you did, because now I have a better understanding of it. I hope my viewers have a better understanding of it. And basically, what you're saying is, while it sounds airy fairy and progressive, as you mentioned, it's actually not a very good idea unless you have those three things in place. Is there an
Well,
example?
it's possible. I mean, like I just described, like, if people, the criticism often I get pushed back, it's like, but it works. I'm like, yeah, like you could have also described to me how to hijack a car. You would have ended up with a car 9 times out of 10, right? It
Very true.
works.
Yeah, very true. Is there an
It's going to get
example of a?
cold.
Is there an example?
So,
Yeah. Is there an example of a country that has implemented it and it's working for them?
well, America, yeah, because they have the strength to back it up. It's working to them, but they are starting to experience some of the costs. But that's essentially what they've been doing since the 1970s. They've
Okay.
sort of decoupled the financialized economy. So yeah, it does work if it's nice work if you can get it. And so, like, bullies do get lunch from the small kids. Like, that happens. But it doesn't mean we should be celebrating it
Yeah, absolutely.
or we should be doing it or advocating it, just because, like, we could beat up the smaller kids around the African continents. I mean, like, we're a more powerful economy here, but we shouldn't do that
So what
because
would?
it's going to end up with more pressure on others and more inequality at a global level. But now I'm just ranting into like a
No, no, no. But you're
microphone.
right. You're right. That is going to happen. What would be your solution to it?
Well, our solution is we have to start challenging people that aren't playing by the rules. We have to start calling this what it is. We have to start pointing at the naked emperor. Like, we've had a lot of these conversations. There are nations that are a lot stronger than us. They have greater leverage than we do. Like, if you are Russia, you can ride into Ukraine. Like, there's only sort of civilization stopping us. Like, there's only humans like you and me saying this is not so. So we really do have to get that right.
Sorry, Bronwyn, you broke up quite a bit there. You were talking about Russia being powerful, and then
I
you
mean,
broke up.
so, yeah, a powerful nation can ride into a small one. Like, strength just plays like that.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that we have to agree that that's a good thing. Like, we need to point out the naked emperors and actually
Yes.
spell out what the problem is, and then we can talk about it in the open. And we have to call these things what they are. We can say it might be progressive internally, but internationally it's hugely regressive, and it's regressive against the most vulnerable people in the world. So, like, I'm kind of tired of being called, like, conservative here. I'm actually much more radical, sort of actual progressive than you are, because I'm an international progressivist. That's practically a Marxist when you put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm more Marxist than you are. But I'm not. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, we have to actually call things what they are. We have to spell them out. And we have to look at who the losers are, because almost all of our accounting only focuses on the winners and how big the winners are winning. But there's a whole other side to the balance sheet, and we have to interrogate that. What are the side effects of these policies? Who is carrying the cost? Those costs are passed sort of temporally and spatially through space and time, but there's always a cost. And anything that takes place in the financial world is a distortion on the real market. And sometimes those distortions can end up being for good, if you like taking things back from people who stole them in the past or whatever. Being a bit more redistributive, we have to understand we do live in a very unequal world, but quite often they can have the opposite effect and end up just really enriching the strong at the expense of the weak. So if they're going to keep on doing it, we might not be able to stop them, but we can absolutely stop them from thinking or allowing them to pretend that they're doing it for good reasons or that they're actually the good guy in the room.
Okay, that makes sense. But again, thank you for explaining that. I feel like I can have a better conversation now with some people about this theory. I just want to quickly go to the chats or the live chats. Herman J. Ruas giving a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Herman, for the $5 super chat. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. And he didn't really he didn't really give a comment, but he just gave a $5 super chat. And there you go, an example of how money, like we're talking about now, is globalized. Like, that's dollars now moving into South Africa. Like you said, it's very difficult now for countries to kind of be by themselves almost, or to like be on their own and not trade with any other country. I wanted to ask you as well about South Africa specifically. So you have a lot of people that advocate for modern monetary theory in South Africa. What would you predict would happen if it was implemented? If it did happen, would we see another Zimbabwe situation?
Not immediately, but we would see what we'd see as a drying up of access to credit. We've still got some leeway there. As I said, you kind of have to have monetary sovereignty, which we do have. So we can actually get away with some of that. And domestically, if we decide to close our economy off, go back to like apartheid era kind of politics, be much more sort of isolationist, you could probably get away with it for longer. But that's assuming we're sort of self-sufficient. Like we're not actually reliant on imports for day-to-day living, which we are. We're reliant on imports of things like energy and food, quite important stuff. So unfortunately, there are limits there in terms of our credibility, and the credibility is the big one for South Africa. Investor expectations are already so against us due to our political uncertainty, due to our policy uncertainty, the insurrections, the violence. All of these things make capital uncomfortable for coming here. They're uncomfortable, particularly if they don't think they're going to be able to get it out. And credibility in terms of actually buying up our sovereign debt, like actually being able to issue that on the open markets, there are limits to that. Now, there is still runway there too for us to get away with that for several years, probably, because we have not tapped out our full actual sovereign debt issue at the moment. People will still give us loans that are rand denominated, which means we could pay them back technically by printing our own money, but only until they don't. And credibility, unlike other things, can run out very, very quickly. And our credibility in South Africa is backed purely by faith in our future. It is not backed, unlike it is in other places, by military might. It's backed purely by the sort of the goodwill of the international community. So once that runs out and other people are like, no, actually, we're not going to purchase your bonds, South Africa. Like, we're not actually going to loan you more loans at a commercial level or at a national sort of sovereign level. If we're not going to do that, then the sort of the party train runs out pretty quickly. On the output gap space, there is definitely runway there. So that inflation wouldn't be where inflation comes from. Inflation would come from rather the fact that we lose credibility on international markets. So in theory, we could run into a Zimbabwe crisis. It's happened to much more advanced economies than ours and our neighbors. But I think that saner heads will probably prevail in that direction. I think we've got enough other own goals that are more near and pressing threat to what would happen. Or that it's the credibility question, and expectations are reality when it comes to economics and countries that can't force their will on the rest of the world.
So you don't see South Africa going in modern monetary theory direction.
No, I mean, like we are going to probably engage in some sort of money printing, but embracing the whole sort of modern monetary theory wholesale, I would say that's highly unlikely here, because people that work at the Reserve Bank are sane adults. They understand how this works, and even if they've read Stephanie Carlton's book, they completely understand that America is not South Africa. I don't think people working in our sort of Ministry of Finance and the Reserve Bank are stupid at all. I know many of them, and they're quite smart.
Okay, cool. Well, in a way, that's good news.
It will increase money supply, but not to that extent.
Yeah.
We don't have all the leverage.
Okay.
We don't have all the leverage there.
Yeah, no, that I understand. All right, so I wanted to go back to what you spoke about when you were talking about your introduction. You said you're doing work with gaming. Now,
yes.
Do you mean like gaming as in gaming, like Xbox, PlayStation, or is it another?
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're building software to help gaming companies to integrate with the great big financialized world out there.
Okay.
So this is quite a big opportunity, given that so many games and like what's happened with NFTs at the moment, and the rise of play and earn gaming and all the rest of it. What's happening is that formerly closed economies, and you can think of every game as being a closed Robinson Crusoe economy, are now opening up to the global market, which means essentially they are, like South Africa and Zimbabwe, losing their sovereignty or a degree of their sovereignty by opening up to the world. So they can be seen as a standalone economy, which means they have to start playing by some of the same economic rules that we've spoken about today. They have to understand cause and effect. They have to understand the limits of modern monetary theory on printing your own in-game currencies at infinite levels. When you start to connect that with the global markets, which means through now trading, allowing people to extract that value, whether it's through fiat or through crypto or through NFTs, means that if you don't get your monetary policy right in your gaming world over the things you do have control over, then you're going to end up with massive capital outflows, which is exactly what we saw happening in economies that collapse or jump the sort of modern monetary theory shock. So our software allows them essentially to sort of balance their in-game economies and to control their real and monetary scarcity, the things they do have control over, to give them the best chance of being able to actually extrapolate that value through playing their own gaming mechanisms by tapping into all the wonders of Web3.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand completely. So how exactly is that going to be tied into gaming? Like what like say I'm playing Call of Duty. How does your software impact that?
Well, it's depending on the game how they want to integrate with the general economy. So generally, there's two ways that gaming economies are trying to integrate with the real economy, either through the goods market or through the money market. Now, in the gaming case, your goods market would be like trying to make NFTs of your favorite gun or your favorite skin, or perhaps breeding Axies. Everyone knows about Axie Infinity, and selling the monsters. That's the gaming goods economy. So it's like the Unreal goods economy. But if we understand rules of scarcity and we create real scarcity, real and relative scarcity for the goods side of your gaming economy, much like in the real world, there's real and relative scarcity compared to diamonds to, say, to gold to water, right? Those are real parameters. By setting those real parameters, gaming economies can create real value for their goods. Because obviously, if you're changing the supply of your like base minerals or your skins or your swords or whatever it is inside your game at will, people are not going to want to invest in it because there's no, again, expectation of security. If you inflate your goods, people will not take your goods seriously. Same thing we've spoken about with like the inflationary monetary policy. You have to set those rules. Our software helps you set those rules so players can make expectations about how to then start trading those now released goods, those goods that are now available for export out of the gaming world and into the form of NFTs or into be able to trade it for real money outside of the game, which gamers have done incidentally for decades, unlike eBay, right? Illegal trading. This is now just becoming sort of legalized and normalized. And the other way they do it is through the monetary side of the gaming economies, which is allowing players either to start using tokens, like crypto tokens, as in-game currency, or allowing exchanges for like in-game currencies to be exchanged for tokens or for fiat money. Again, the same principles apply. If you're going to abuse the laws of supply and demand, if you're going to do helicopter money drops, you're going to devalue your currency, and players are going to essentially take their money away from your game and go somewhere else where they can get a better yield. And that's what's quite interesting with the gaming world. And that's all of this is based on one simple thing, which is based, again, on a very real, tangible side of the economy, and that is human attention. So if you get the balancing wrong, you lose people's attention and interest. Great puns, right? Like the credits and like the interest. Interest is the interest in gaming economies and all that. So you have to be able to sort of balance those sort of endorphin rushes you get from progression in the game with the potential financial gains you could get once you start integrating your economy with the greater world. So it's playing with a lot of things around sort of like behavioral insights, understanding people's risk reward profiles, understanding like the actual monetary value of time, and how people are prepared to trade fun for money and vice versa. But of course, being games, you still have to optimize that attention level too. So our software is helping game developers and platforms kind of get that balance. So play both sort of central banker and monetary policy maker within the in-game world, but also without losing sight of the fact that you have to balance that monetary side with the actual fun that people are going to have in the games. So that's basically what we're doing. Very nerdy, but you're welcome to look at us at metanomic.net if you're interested in the very nerdy side.
No, I will, because that sounds exciting. And I don't game as much as I would like to, but it sounds like something that I might want to keep an eye on when this rolls out completely. I mean, has it rolled out, or is it still developing? Is it what?
It's developing. We'll be signing people up for our closed beta, which will be launching within the next couple of months, and we'll be ready to start sort of actually running games, real-time games, because the system allows for real-time game balancing. So it's like an API system. It's effectively like a thermostat that makes sure your economy doesn't get too hot or too cold. Inflation doesn't run away, deflation doesn't kick in, and all the rest of it once it's logged into the game. So we'll have the live sort of game client up and running probably by Q3 this year.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on it, and possibly have you back to talk more about it, because I think the gaming industry itself is like, I was telling my friend the other day. I wish I was a gamer on YouTube. Like I didn't listen to my parents, and I just continued gaming, because I could have been maybe a top gamer by now. Like, it's amazing how the gaming industry has become this powerhouse of an industry, and this is actually something very exciting to come to the gaming industry. I think a lot of people are going to buy into it and enjoy it. So well done. It's exciting times.
You had fun.
All right. Yeah, we're approaching the end of the hour. Bronwyn, is there anything you wanted to say or mention in, like, as we end off?
No, I think I've spoken a lot today.
Yes, you have, but it's been very interesting, and I must thank you again for giving an hour of your time. I know you're a busy woman, and I'm a fan. I enjoy your tweets, by the way. I think they're great. I think you drop some real truth bombs at times. So please, ladies and gentlemen, do follow Bronwyn on Twitter. But speaking of Twitter, what is your opinion on? I don't know if you heard. Elon Musk bought more shares. Yeah. What's your opinion on that?
Buying a lot of things. You can't read too much into this.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. He seemed very upset by Twitter not having or not abiding by their policy of free speech, and I hope that him buying those amount of shares and being the most now shareholder, being the biggest shareholder in Twitter, maybe some of the policies will change. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe.
All right, Bronwyn. All right, Bronwyn.
Follow the incentives. That's all.
Yeah, probably. So
intentions.
yes. Bronwyn, just quickly tell people where they can find you, and if there's any, besides the gaming thing, if there's any other exciting projects you have lined up.
Yeah, so follow me on Twitter. I'm at Bronwyn Williams. I'm quite easy to find. And otherwise, take a look at, if you're interested in the trends features space at Flex Trends. We've always got something interesting going on. We're going to be doing a couple of our innovation tours towards the end of this year, back after a very long COVID sort of hiatus. So if you're interested in getting involved in any of those, lots of fun. We go and find some most innovative and strange businesses in South Africa. So this year we're going to have like lab-grown meatballs on the menu and that sort of thing. So if you're interested, definitely take a look at what we're doing there. And if you're interested in the world of very nerdy gaming economics, then you're welcome to find us at metanomic.net and to follow along there.
Cool. I will definitely add the last one in the description after the stream, so people who are watching this in the future can go check it out. Bronwyn, thank you. Yes, thank you again for giving me an hour of your time. I would really love to have you back on the show again in the future. Pun intended. But yeah, it was great having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun.
All right, great. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bronwyn Williams. Once again, go check her out on Twitter and everywhere else. Go to her website, go to all that stuff. As you can see, she's a very smart lady, very interesting lady. And again, her Twitter is awesome. I think she's a well-balanced person, and she calls out when she sees a lot of BS. So do go check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around with me in this evening, because I know that the president was talking. I don't know if he said anything. Before I go, let me see if I can find out what was said very quickly. I'm sure it'll be very, very easy. I'm seeing a lot of tweets now. Already, Cyril Ramaphosa is trending. Breaking, announced national state of disaster will end at midnight tonight. Okay, whoa, I gotta show you guys this. Hold on. This is interesting. For those of you who may not have seen the president. So apparently, breaking news, President Cyril Ramaphosa announces national state of disaster will end at midnight tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Rob still on his thing here. Shifting temporary COVID regulations to be permanent under the Health Act is incredibly dangerous. Government wants to hear what you have to say at this link. So it sounds like they are still going to implement things in the Health Act, which I'm not seeing anything thus far. Let me have a look. If Rob is pushing that, that means that that means that the president probably said something that they're gonna move the regulations into the Health Act. But what that means, we don't know yet. Let me have a look here. This was his address. It was only 15 minutes. Usually he's Cyril Ramaphosa. Okay, usually they have like those short snippets of, I don't know what the hell's going on with this thing now. Did they like stream it 10,000 times on the thing? Okay, no. That's not helping. All right, here we go. President, our greatest responsibility is to make sure that we are vaccinated. So obviously he spoke about getting vaccinated. South Africa is no longer in state of disaster. We need to keep up basic precautions to prevent a surge of infections. Measures to protect yourself. Wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth. Keep safe distance from others. Stay away from closed or crowded spaces. Wash your hands regularly with soap or sanitizer. Okay, but importantly, by ending the national state of disaster, we are each taking more individual responsibility for protecting our health and health for others. Okay, it sounds like we're out of it, guys. Oh, wait, hold on. President Ramaphosa, according to certain transitional provisions, will remain in place for a period of 30 days after the termination of the national state of disaster to ensure essential public health precautions and other necessary services are not interrupted. Okay, so South Africa is no longer in a state of disaster from midnight on the 4th of April. Following transitional measures will remain in place for no longer than 30 days. Okay, so masks must be worn indoor. Public spaces do not need to be worn outdoors, so you still have to wear a mask indoors for the next 30 days. No more than 50% capacity at a venue. With proof of vaccine or negative COVID test, no upper limit on numbers. Without proof of vaccine or negative COVID test, upper limit of 1,000 indoors, 2,000 outdoors. So that's still 50% capacity for a venue 30 days later. International arrivals must have proof of vaccination, blah, blah, blah. South Africa is no longer in a state of disaster. What now? The national state of disaster will end on midnight. A few transitional measures will remain, automatically lapse after 30 days. And automatically lapse. I hope that means end. Public comments on draft new health regulations are open until the 16th of April, 2022, ladies and gentlemen. So they still want to make some of these COVID regulations, these lockdown regulations, into the Health Act. So Rob, I am going to have Rob on the show. I'm going to do another video with him. I'm going to do a third video with him, a follow-up, to comment on what the president said, to comment on what all this means. And clearly, you guys still need to comment to make sure that these COVID or lockdown regulations do not become part of the Health Act, which will make them permanent, ladies and gentlemen, and much more difficult to fight. So after consideration of public comments, new health regulations will be put in place. Not until you've heard the 16th. There's still until the 16th. The pandemic will be managed through normal health, social development, labor, and other laws and regulations. This is BS. You guys know why. Okay, he was late. Apparently, he only addressed the nation at 8:15. But yeah, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is, in a nutshell, what the president spoke about earlier today. I'm going to speak to Rob, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to speak to Rob. I'm sure I'm going to speak to a few people. I'm going to speak to Rob from DRSA. I'm going to speak to AfriForum, and I'm going to speak to Sachelicha. I'm going to get their opinion on what this all means and what we as South Africans need to do to fight this. Because the statement of after consideration of public comments, new health regulations will be put in place. That is BS. There have been, and I can show you guys. Let me quickly go here. I have the link right here. Because you cannot tell me that the ANC has already looked at. It's still counting, which is good. over 132,000 comments within 48 hours. Or again, they said public can comment until the 16th. So keep on commenting, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on going to the site. Keep giving your comments. We need to see way more than 132. So yeah, but it's great that this is growing. It's great that people are sharing. It's great that people are talking about it. Over our dead bodies, Cyril Ramaphosa, that you're going to implement these ridiculous regulations, and the fact that you still keep some of these regulations around for 30 days, for what? All your scientists are saying that it's over. All your scientists are saying masks don't work. All your scientists have said that there's no need for these regulations, and yet you still keep them. Have your say, ladies and gentlemen. Go to DRSA and have your say. There's still a chance to fight this. I think ANC is definitely feeling the pressure. They were supposed to only announce this on the 15th of April, but they've ended the state of disaster earlier. But they still wanna try these little power tricks. So let's see, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what happens. But anyway, keep having your say. I'm out. Tomorrow evening, I'm going to have Gideon Joubert and Ian Cameron on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about South Africa. Probably going to talk about a lot of the things that have been happening in SAPS, a lot of things that have been happening with heists, and weird things have been happening in South Africa with strikes. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about gun laws in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have any questions about gun laws in South Africa, that's happening tomorrow evening with Gideon and Ian Cameron, ladies and gentlemen. Please tune into that. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's my panel discussion for South Africa, revolving around. Thank you, Vut, for all the links you've been sharing on the live stream. Thank you so much. That is the DRSA website. Have your say, ladies and gentlemen. But tomorrow evening, it is Gideon and Ian with me, talking about gun laws in South Africa. So if you have any questions about that, please tune in. We're also going to be chatting about other things revolving guns and safety in South Africa. So basically the topic is a gun-free South Africa necessary? No, it's not. Like, spoiler alert. No, it's not. But tune in anyway. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Herman, for the super chat. Thank you all for the super chats. Thank you all. Don't forget, become a member. Greatly helps the channel. Thank you guys so much. Share. And, or at least the video. Share the video that I did with Rob. I'm going to do another follow-up video with Rob, so look out for that. It's going to be released either tomorrow or Wednesday. So look out for that video, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow evening. If I don't see you then, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I will see you at the next one. Cheers.